back to the tailgate, y'all. We're melting here in the July sunshine, but we wanted to take a minute and talk about how do you tail bleed a cow and what are the reasons behind why you would want to tail bleed a cow.
And it's very important. You can have a lot of reasons to take blood samples from a cow, but one of the most intriguing, at least in my mind, is that we can tell so much more about the genetic makeup of that animal simply by drawing a blood sample. You know, we talked a lot about selecting by the numbers in a series that we did earlier, and you might want to go back and take a look at that. We talked a lot about EPDs and that type of thing, but EPDs are based upon accuracy, and there are a couple of things that builds accuracies on EPDs, one being age and the number of progeny that you might have and the number of records that's been turned in on that particular animal.
Exactly.
Well, with tail bleeding or bleeding by any manner and doing DNA testing, we can actually take a 3-day-old calf and get the same kind of genetic information that we could as if that calf had had 15 progeny or more on the ground. So we can really speed that process up. So to me, that's the number one reason why we need to be able to bleed cows. And tail bleeding is just one of many methods. You can get a blood sample by going into the jugular vein with a needle, tail vein with a needle, or actually by pricking one of the veins on the back of the ear, Sarah. And anything to get a blood sample.
True. Tail bleeding, however, is probably the easiest to learn and the easiest method if you're not used to pulling blood all the time. Another reason why you might want to pull blood, not just for genetics, it's also, tail bleeding is a common way for pulling blood when you do pregnancy diagnosis via blood test.
Exactly.
And through this video, you'll see how easy that is to pull and how easy that is to utilize that technology on your operation to help not only make sure that we get a calf, or that we get a cow pregnant and get a calf here, but then to also increase the genetic value of that calf once it is here.
That's exactly right. And this is not something that you have to call somebody else to get it done. Anybody can do this.
It's really very simple.
You know, really the only thing that we need is a syringe. And you could use vacutainers if you wanted to, but just simply put a syringe and a needle. You could pick up at any farm supply store. You could pick it up at a pharmacy. You could pick it up at one of the big box retailers, anything like that. I prefer to use 18 gauge needle, no bigger than an 18 gauge needle because it's less invasive. 20 gauge will work as well, and you need at least 1 inch long or 1.5 inches, depending on where you're bleeding.
One thing I will add, make sure that you get a syringe that's in a pack and sealed because it needs to be sterile. This is a blood sample, so any sort of contamination will alter the results that you get. Whether it's genetics, it could compromise your sample. Whether it's pregnancy, it could compromise that as well. So make sure that your needle and your syringe both are clean and sealed.
And dispose after you're done. And of course, very quickly disposing of a sharp, taking it off, something like a laundry detergent bottle, drop them down in there whenever that bottle's full, duct tape the lid on it, and write "do not recycle," and you can dump it in a dumpster in the state of Tennessee.
Correct. And if you're not in the state of Tennessee, check your local regulations.
Yes.
And only 1 syringe and 1 needle per animal, so it has to be brand new. We can't cross-contaminate blood.
And don't try to clean these and then do another one. Sanitation is of the utmost because what you're doing with the DNA sample is you're measuring what's in those drops of blood. And if I get 1 drop of blood from a different calf in here, now it's not a true sample.
Right.
So, you know, this is a great technology, but you have to do a few things. So basically, we're going to go shoot side here in a second, and we're going to tail bleed a bull for you, and we're going to put this on a DNA card to be sent off. So let's go shoot side, and then we'll come back and we'll show you what we do whenever we have that blood sample in hand.
So here we are at the back end of the bull. We're going to start down towards the base of the tail. We're hunting the caudal vein, which will typically be in the center of that tail. We want to make sure that we feel for the vertebrae and hit a spot in between those vertebrae. We want to make 1 stick, and we can gently manipulate that needle side to side, up and down, to locate that caudal vein and pull that blood. For DNA, it doesn't take a whole lot. A couple of drops is generally enough. You would need more for a pregnancy test. But once we have that blood, we need to work quickly because it will clot very soon.
All right, we're back from the shoot side, and we're going to show you what we're going to do here. And let me show you what a DNA card looks like. This is a blood card. There are hair cards as well, but we're going to deal with blood cards. This one has a place for you to put the identification of the calf, and it's very important that you get the identification of the calf that this blood sample came from. When you open it up, there's a soft absorbent pad here with a circle, and this gives us a target to drip blood onto this absorbent pad. If you notice, I'm not touching that pad with my hands because the oil on my hands or any dirt I might have from handling that calf whenever we pull that blood sample could contaminate this blood pad. But what I'm going to do, keeping it very clean and as sterile as possible, I'm going to take my syringe, again with just a small amount of blood, and I've already done one, but I'm going to show you what the process is. I will hold this down and I will drip blood into the center of that circle until it widens out to the point where I've basically filled that circle up. Now I'm going to allow that to dry, and whenever, you know, what you don't want to do, you don't want to just push that plunger real hard because you'll cover the whole card with blood, but you're going to drip it drop by drop by drop onto this card. Once we get that circle pretty well filled, we're going to let it dry, and then we're going to fold the top over to protect it from any contaminants, kind of bumped up here in the middle. And if you'll notice, we've got the identification of the animal that we pulled that blood sample from. Then this will be sent off to one of the labs that does DNA work, and in about 3 weeks we're going to have results back, and the EPDs are going to be as accurate as if this animal had already sired 15 to 20 progeny, and this is a yearling animal who has sired none. So this is a very valuable tool for you, and I hope that you'll put that to use. That, along with preg checking, very, very reasonable in terms of cost and invaluable in terms of information to make you more profitable. Thanks for stopping by the Tailgate, and stay tuned for more installments on the Tailgate University.